little bit about yesterday as a framing, but also on reflection, I feel we're talking about a topic that is close to our hearts, minds, a very difficult topic, integration. But this session is actually about volunteering and how volunteering is used as a method towards integration. So we have to be concrete about the volunteerism side of things as a method. But I also feel the hard topic of integration, we can't push it aside. And I think I need to frame that integration that I see and that I hope that we all see is a two-way street. It is not just about immigrants, refugees, newcomers integrating into this host country, but rather this middle space of citizens of that host country also coming towards the newcomers. And I think that's where I'd like to see where the proposals for volunteerism actually pushes the host country to volunteer with newcomers, rather than only the idea of newcomers volunteering into existing host country volunteering programs. Obviously we know that integration requires there are many different things that need to happen for a full integration, and that's political integration, economic and welfare integration, and I guess here we're talking about a sociocultural integration. So again, for me it's about, and we have to recognize the continuous discrimination that we have in our societies in this topic, and how volunteerism could be an answer towards that. Any reflections? We're a small group, so I'm very happy for us to be very loose in our discussions. If there's any thoughts from yesterday that you're carrying over, please feel free. If not, I'll ask you to stand up, do a small icebreaker, and then proceed with the day.
Stand up like now.
Stand up like now. And I'd love you, with Atala's help, to pair up in twos. Get together in twos. So, and Atala. So, yeah, with Robert. So, this is speed networking. Okay, there'll be a series of questions that we'll put up here, one by one, and you and your partner will have 2 minutes to discuss a question. We'll do one at a time. So I'm going to click this. There'll be the question. You have 2 minutes in total to discuss this question, each answering from side. So I'm going to get the timer ready. And already done. Okay. Wait. Yeah, no, thank you. Can't give too much away. So, what volunteering do you do, if any? And tell your partner about it. 2 minutes. 30 seconds. And stop. Very good. That's 2 minutes. Did you both exchange? Oh, not good time management. Okay, we'll give it 30 more seconds so that there could be an exchange. 30 more seconds. And we'll stop and come back. I was making fun of your time management, but I know it's because the amount of volunteering that you both do takes up a lot of time. Can we come back, everybody? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, can you give us a taste of your conversation and the volunteering you do?
You mean how we feel about it?
No, the volunteering you do. What type of volunteering do you do?
So my case is quite, I think, strange because I've chosen not to have a full-time paid job so that I can have days available to me to do volunteering work. So I have 2 days paid work in a week, and the rest of the days I do all sorts of different things, interfaith to community, pastoral care as an imam, and stuff like that.
Well, I work for Church of Sweden, so Church of Sweden pay all my. I have I don't do the voluntary work at Church of Sweden, but I do it in an association called Democracy Without Borders. We work for United Nations Parliament that will be a global association that you vote and you discuss the global issues like climate crisis, like refugees crisis. So that's the idea that we have a parliament for the global issues. So we work for that.
Thank you. Fascinating. It's interesting when your kind of your work and your volunteerism is very connected, and most of your time is volunteering. So just hear from you guys. I know, Robert, you've told me about past volunteering experiences as well, which was fascinating. So if you could give just a taste.
More recently, I ran an organization based in Barcelona called the Higher Education Alliance for Refugees. And the aim of the organization was for refugees, mostly in Lebanon and Turkey, but also Germany and elsewhere, to identify the obstacles that they faced to accessing higher education. It was a difficult thing to run because higher education is seen as something of a luxury for refugees, and so donors and others were very reluctant to acknowledge the fact that, in fact, higher education is, a kind of expectation. And people from Syria, for example, about a third of people went into university. Many of the refugees came from families where there was an expectation of people going into higher education, but they faced a lot of difficulties doing it. Part of the aim was to encourage refugees to kind of identify their own problems and engage in policy, to help them engage in policy engagement. And also to try and challenge things. Refugees face all sorts of problems like paperwork issues, documentation, being able to take exams to get into universities, having missed out on things. I mean, most of the universities in Syria had closed. They couldn't get hold of any documents or anything else.
Thank you.
Yeah, I work voluntarily as the chair of a community association in Birmingham. We're actually a religious order, Sufi order, that's based in Morocco, but we've got a large number of members in the UK. And we bought an old church hall and converted it for community use, and we run a range of projects there. It's based in a mainly migrant area of Birmingham, where it's 90% immigrant communities, and we run a range of employment projects, health projects, feeding, and various other things, which is very satisfying. Yeah, I also sit on a Muslim mental health charity board, which is a completely voluntary organisation, which I was amazed at their professionalism, that they manage a network of mental health professionals around Britain who will be available for mental health advice.
Thank you. Some very inspiring stuff. I'm going to leave you guys for now, and we'll do it the next questions. But I'd love you to change partners. Speed networking. Yeah, there we go. No, next question. Okay, so the next question is, and actually we had talked about this next question amongst the amongst facilitators, and they're all from the former Yugoslavia, actually representing Bosnia or Croatia or Serbia. So, some of this, just warn, could be triggering or not, but I wanted to put it up. Your house containing everything you own catches fire. After saving your loved ones and pets, you have time to safely make it out to save, a final dash to save one item, only one. What would it be and why? And you have 2 minutes, time managed between you. Okay. And go.
I was going to tell her if I can edit my mobile, so I...
Yeah, exactly. If there's anybody... One minute. And stop. Okay, let's come back. Hi. Can you give us a taste of...
Yeah. Taking my by the way, taking my
If you're happy with that, to tell each other's, so can you say why what she would take and why?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then vice
So
versa.
he just said it, okay? Copy paste. Yeah, by the way, just to add, taking computer was, the pictures memories was one of the main reason I wanted. So I want so we had a similarity of the thing that we wanted to choose. We had a condition that everything will be lost. For me, when we escaped from our house to mountain, I wanted to take my computer with me. My mom told me no. Take some rice, some bread where we can eat. People say there is no food, nothing there. So I give up my computer and I took some food with me because we walked for 30 kilometers through valleys until reaching a tragic trip. But for my colleague was a different thing, memories things, and my computer was also I wanted to take because I had all my memory in, and it's not there anymore.
And for me, my uncle used to be a professional photographer. So when the war broke in Somalia, and especially in our house, there was one big room that was just allocated to stack up family albums and pictures and everything. So when the war broke, that whole entire room, when the warlord broke in, went on fire. And till this day, we don't have one single picture of our childhood or any memories back home. And it still aches on my heart so much that there's nothing to look back, but everything to look forward to.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank God for memories, but yes, this photography, those pictures, that box of pictures.
Actually, we reach almost the same conclusion. So, yes, so we decided both the same to try. Now, if we would be in that situation, we would try to bring the family memories that would be kept in photos. But I don't know if being in that situation, if I would think in more physical needs. So now, thinking in this room, comfortable, the pictures, but in the situation, probably physical needs would be more urgent.
I think it's 100% with Amina to say we are both from the same country, and we woke up one day and you have to leave everything behind. When you asked the question, the number one thing was family album. There was all the pictures from my childhood. I remember so many pictures in there, and it really brings tears to my eyes to remember that I have been in so many different places. They have made a book about me in Finland, and they were asking, can we have some of your childhood pictures? And it really, like every time somebody reminds you, it really hits you in the heart. Like I did have some very cute, with very good afro on me and stuff like that, but it's not there anymore. So I will definitely save it. And we also found out, we were both saying that I think maybe we are telepathically connected somehow, because now I digitally take pictures of every photo that I find and make sure that they are on the cloud. Yeah, they are on the cloud. And I'm really angry that technology came this late. Very, very angry at that.
Thank you. Thank you for the stories as well. It deepens what this speed networking is. Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, I'd like you to switch for one last time. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so final question. Oh, Can you click it? Make 3 true we statements each. For instance, we are both in this room feeling, or something that you recognize that are beyond the surface of what you share. So 3 we statements each. And go. You could be 3. we'll give an extra minute for this group. Okay, let's come back. Okay, we'll start with this wonderful trio here. We're very happy with their answers, I should say. Okay, we come back? You're back? Atala? Okay? Okay.
Okay, so we realized that through this sharing of our stories, we are both feeling moved and also inspired to do more. And the third one was we are being challenged, so we are being put in uncomfortable situations to speak and to do more, so being challenged by you.
Do more of that, please. Thank you.
I think we both shared a sense of hope emerging from this conference. You know, that we often see things as pretty dark, but then we don't really appreciate all the extraordinary things that are happening, and therefore coming to a place like this gives us that sense of hope. Although, you know, we also recognize there's enormous challenges to face, I think.
We are interested in these voluntary topics. We are happy for the arrangement here in the conference, working very fine. And we are also hopefully for the outcome of the conference.
Thank you.
So we're both in this room feeling different. So Farhad's feelings are very different to mine. So I'm just going to share how Farhad is feeling. He's feeling confused. He's feeling peaceful, and also he feels that he's very similar to many people in this room. Many people in this room. He's very similar to them. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel peaceful also, yeah, you feel peaceful and being heard, yeah, and also hopeful, yeah. That was the, yeah.
There is some draw between.
Yeah, like maybe the confusing one is the one that making a big difference, yeah.
Well, we have all our particular and our universals, right? So thank you. If you take your seats, and we'll work with these two tables for the next round. And that was speed networking. Okay, so now with the main part, we're a bit behind time, but I think we can catch up. We're going to have dialogues per table and breakout groups. So what we do need is per table that we have a note taker and someone who will present what you discuss at the end so we could take notes. That's great. Yes, you can join groups. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Here you go.
Okay, when you're there, you see it there. It's true.
So today, by the end of the day, the end of the morning, we want to come to 3 policy statements. And to kick us off, I gave you these discussion points that referred to the paper. Hopefully you had a chance to look at them. Can't tell the difference in color, but anyway. So first, you could just yell out because we don't have anybody online, but anything, any feelings from that input paper? Any immediate feelings from the input paper?
Yeah, the immediate feeling about, you have recommendation to add, I think, yes, we have list of recommendation to add to the topic, yeah.
Good. That's what I want to hear. Any other immediate feelings, thoughts?
I think there was this point about that it didn't really summarise the point that I raised yesterday, which Abdurrahim also commented on as being particularly relevant around dealing, how can the offering of volunteering overcome some of the challenges which refugees themselves and some of their concerns and frustrations and cynicism would face.
The one where that was does how they're being treated, does it affect their interest, will to be involved? Yeah, and how you
a sense of abandonment.
I was involved in the preparation and editing of the paper, and obviously it's a work in progress because we want your input. One thing that did strike me in the conversations yesterday was how many of you said that the contributions of refugees and migrants was not recognized effectively by organizations, and that's definitely something we want to highlight, I think, in this report. And obviously that's about having people in leadership positions, having people on boards, making sure that people are not kind of sidelined in the shaping of activities and the creation of policies and everything else. So thank you for those very helpful comments. It was very illuminating to hear of your experiences. And that's exactly why we wanted to get you here today. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Robert. That's very helpful. Okay, so what we're going to do is on each table there's series of numbers. So this is the order that I'd like you to answer the questions in. So this table will start with 1, 2, and then answer question 5. Yeah? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to switch these around. Sorry. So you guys will do 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2. And this group will do 1, 2, 1, 2, 5, 3, 4. Is that clear? So this group will answer 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, then 5, before answering 3 and 4. And the other group will start with 3 and 4, 5, and then go to 1 and 2. The reason I do this is that we only have 20 minutes for discussions, and I want to get through all of them. So you will have a note taker, and you will have a presenter who will present for 2 to 5 minutes at the end of it. Okay? So please take your 20 minutes from now.
Could you please repeat again just to clarify the number?
So 3, 4.
No, you said 1, 2, 5.
Well, sorry. 125.
Here?
On this side, and then if we still have time, 3, 5, 3, 4.
Would it be helpful to have a flip chart because
You
it's
could-
very difficult for somebody to present without
Great.
a flip chart.
Are you going to be taking the notes?
Thanks for volunteering.
Sorry?
Thanks for
Yeah.
volunteering.
I could take the notes and then maybe somebody else could present.
I mean, I will keep you fine. Check them.
And we have post-its, markers, pens, glue sticks.
Oh, right.
Question number 3.
Series of
Okay, no, if you don't feel comfortable, I will do us also. So how you think? How you think?
I would say, to answer
Who
for
wants to be the
question number 3, I would say
I can
collaboration or leadership
I can present it.
Okay, I will.
in the
but I
local
will take
society.
notes, but I cannot give you. Or, yeah, I can
I
send
think
you. How will you
the
do it?
basic for
Okay.
If that's okay, of course. With
what
everyone.
can happen in the local society.
So
How do
now
you
I'm going to read
build that
the
up?
question
How
for
do you
you.
encourage
The
that?
question is number one. The question number one. Of the invitation list
Me, myself, as a leader, I have a responsibility to meet other leaders that have impact on the society and have impact.
Okay,
First of all, for the
will take the time.
believers in this association,
20 minutes.
but secondly, for all the people that my congregation will meet.
The recommendations, there was four recommendations.
Up to me as a leader to take that responsibility
Inclusivity and
and
representation,
to get to know other
legal
leaders.
integration policies, encouragement.
So I think it's a
systems and
leadership
structures.
that has to be shown.
Page 5. Page 5 of the invitation.
Yeah, those are.
recommendations
on the last
religious
one.
organizations do not consider them.
No, no, it's on number 5. Okay. General.
Also, the same page, add to recommendations that do religious organizations.
Ah, yes, yes. Oh, yes,
Well,
yes.
a lot of it's
So
about
there
sort
are
of
six,
first
yes.
impression awareness of opportunities for
This one is
volunteering.
Yeah, and also you have the two last ones.
Matching up kind of
Yes,
skills that
basic.
might
Encourage and support volunteering, encourage appreciation of diversity.
and appreciating the skills and things that bring to an issue. There are often things like
So the question was which ones are particularly relevant and have the greatest potential to succeed?
in during the Northern Irish Peace Process, big American foundation called the Atlantic Philanthropies looked at what could it do to encourage women to take part in the organization. The thing they found to be most effective, encouraging women to go to meetings, encouraging them to go to the sessions where people talk about harms that they suffered.
I should say, if you want a chocolate chip questions to suit how you want to answer it.
And yet foundations are only going to do anything that's kind of core in childhood. In fact, it's enormously important.
We know what we want out.
Helping women engage in kind of public activities and in the public sphere. So I think there's often, and you know, often it's transport, it's
Second question is,
child
are there
care,
any
really
recommendations
basic
missing that you want to ask?
and often your donors and foundations are very reluctant to pay for things that they think are kind of
What I
mundane.
feel when I read
Take
this
care of that
is
themselves. But that's often the
maybe that's the idea. It's the first time I do this, so
Um,
maybe I.
There are
but
some systemic
still
barriers
to
like
ask,
legal
that's the idea.
barriers
We
for
don't have
asylum seekers to set up organizations, to take part in political processes, to engage. So often there's a kind of exclusionary mindset towards particularly people whose situation has not been fully regulated, not had, right to remain
response to? Okay.
Yes, because I think you clearly have migrants and refugees in relevant policy making processes. No, but you say how. So you need an action plan, no? A concrete action plan.
And even for, sorry, even, I don't know if we need to focus just on one, but I think
Yeah.
that in everyone, for example, in this, for religious organizations, it says use intercultural, interreligious dialogue to encourage migrants and refugees.
We were just talking yesterday, weren't we?
For
about
many
the
organizations,
mosques
this
in
is not
the UK.
concrete, so what is this?
How many of them, the religious leaders,
Sentence
and
can be
imams,
a-
actually don't,
I don't know if
are not, they don't necessarily not aware
It could
of
be like not
refugees within the community, and they're certainly not aware, if they are aware of them, they're not aware of their needs, so it's like, they're like an invisible community almost. And how, we were talking about how we could raise awareness amongst imams and religious leaders at local level in how they could respond and make their community
With the
aware,
recommendations,
intervene to help
which one, is like it doesn't have to be
and
only
build
one.
empathy with them as well.
So there's no problem with having more than one.
That much empathy.
Yeah, it's important. The one you choose is good, but because it says that they could be more than one, then it says no problem. I also agree that we should have, to kind of make it work, there has to be an action plan, a strategic plan. But then that's not enough. Then also a measurable outcome that we can say that this much people have been doing the volunteer work and it has led to this and this. I think we should go back to the point of we're talking about migrants now. We want migrants to do volunteer work. It has to lead somewhere. It has to lead to a study. It has to lead to a school. It has to lead to a work. It has to lead to a position. It cannot just be you doing volunteer work day in, day out, and you never go forward with it. So it has to lead somewhere. Yeah, because I remember when I was doing my bachelor's degree, I went to school and I showed like majority of the certificates I got from different organizations doing volunteer work, and it really did take some of the credit off my studies. I had 210 credits to do, but because of almost 7 years of volunteer work, I got only 30 points off. So it has to be measurable. It cannot just be you doing something.
And it does that by
it has to have some kind of goals.
yes, I think so, an action.
So
Yes.
it's worth kind of highlighting the enormous
We have to
work,
assess,
but a well
measure.
documented
Outcome.
But the objective itself, I mean, like as a starting baseline, the objective needs to be clear.
Yeah.
It's not just okay. There is the opportunity to be involved in, to volunteer for
I think it's worth
NGO, for
talking
instance. That's
about
not good enough.
explaining
You know, what is the key objective for volunteering, and then that kind of leads to everything else that's shared.
feeling about it. At that time, and that actually might turn things around a bit before they start to feel a bit more valued. I don't know what evidence is.
Well, I don't know about refugees in particular. In general, the evidence is quite strong that volunteering is a very good for health, mental health, general well-being, because it gives people purpose. And I think, if you're stuck at home and you really don't have leading integration sensation of life, that's difficult. Whereas getting out, throwing out, saying
I fully agree with you that I think we want to generate as many kind of ideas, and then we could decide further which one we want to go too far. So I think now open up before typing.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's much.
We have to.
I have the minutes here. I have the. We still have 11 minutes to go. Still have time. 10 minutes.
And then we have a discussion.
Actually, if we go to number 5, we have a lot of, for example, in Nordic countries, we have integration policies that are written, which is taken care of by the government. But we don't have any volunteerism written in those integration, because through volunteerism, a lot of the newcomers can learn the language, they can get to have access to the Finnish people or how do you call the people from that country, or the native people, which will help them learn the language, navigate through the country better, understand
Sorry,
the
there was
possibilities of what they can do. So in a way,
Spiritual
number
mastery.
5, when it comes to those new policy action initiative, would you recommend for facilitating the implementation of this recommendation by different stakeholders? I would say that for them to add migrant volunteers in the action plan, like give people action plans, but not only that they just use them to do things, but it has to lead also to something. It has to lead to them even getting the permits to stay in that country. It really
Also,
show how
changing attitudes,
important and what they can
both
do
to
to
refugees,
their religion. How
but
would you
also
know
to voluntary
a
work
doctor
itself.
from Syria who doesn't
So
speak
changing
English,
attitude
but
is
really
close to
how would you
raise,
understand that he doesn't get
raise
volunteer,
awareness,
maybe
but,
to go there and be part, do small
but
things
there we
here
have
and
a
there,
very
and then
important
try to show
role.
what he can, and then in that way get to know
And of course you
their
can ground
know-how
in
and
theology,
maybe push them towards the right
theological
door.
if you want.
Like instead of integrating the person to everything, you could integrate them to that part of the things that they need to be integrated to. This is
Yeah,
a lawyer understands human rights and stuff like
Yeah.
that. An
that's
organization
also
that
to live
can
in a
push
love
them
in
towards
neighbors.
that.
I think these recommendations you're making are quite broad for different stakeholder groups. I guess the end result is policy. So if there's a way to differentiate here, let's say, what's for community recommendations and what's for policy, then we do want that policy.
Okay.
For the final, so within policy, but then also our very
Yeah, like I said, everyone,
It's a good point.
every organization have their own
end,
policies.
end result
But
is policy.
there's not, in it, it's not written
Yeah.
volunteerism, it's not written.
Yeah, so
it
the
could be
implications of what we talked about is really
written in the action
the
plan, it's
greater
written in
inclusion
the
of faith leaders
strategy.
by
And the
local
idea and the goal of
authorities,
that is to kind of get people
government, isn't
that
it?
are interested in that sector to join,
Ensuring
to
that
do,
they're
and then
inclusive.
maybe to improve and help them to get
Which
to
they're
the next
often not,
part of their life. If
actually.
they're young people,
How many times have you been approached to
they can be human rights organizations,
your
they
local
could
authority
be any
or whatever?
organizations.
Yeah, yeah, it's,
They could
we
be
find this
government
in international
organizations,
aid
they could be
work, that
non-government
the
organizations.
UN and large agencies just don't think that
Because that was
rigorously.
really important
They
as well. I
just
was
sort of,
getting at too.
Yeah.
a lot of my
Education
work
European
is about
aid.
Yeah,
convincing
the
people
important
that they
is,
should
okay, you want people, when they
engage
come to the country,
faith
you
communities.
want them to integrate to the country
Because
as
they're
fast
so
as possible.
influential.
Language is not the only thing they need
And
to
yet
integrate to. They need to
most
integrate to
workers
uh,
in the secular world,
work,
in secular agencies, actually feel
labor
very
market. They
uncomfortable.
need to integrate to the history of the country and what it does. So
Uncomfortable.
you need to get them to become part of those
So
organizations.
we
And
could put that,
let's say
should
the
we put that
organization is doing women
inclusivity
part.
of faith
And then
leaders
these
within,
young women came and they're
within
interested in
policy
that.
making?
So they are part of the organization, which kind of opens doors for them for
I don't know
possible
if it's
later
theirs.
and stuff like that. So it becomes, instead of having migrants their family is going to come for them to do something. They could be activated from day one as soon as they get to the country. So through volunteerism and giving the access for them to know the country. I don't know if you get my point.
For me, that was the
Pathway as soon as, sorry.
I know from those.
No, so you're going pathway as soon as people, newcomers come,
Yeah.
they have
Get it.
Yeah.
immediate
Next one was
Yeah.
4.
process of volunteering.
Yeah, to tell you what happens now is that when people get to the country, they are first put into a center for refugees. And they are paid money for food, whatever. Maybe some of them might get to go to classes to study the language of that country. But the problem is you put master's degrees and illiterate people in the same class just to learn the language of that new country, which kind of takes away the motivation for the person who has already gone to school all his life. The only thing that person is missing is the language.
one of
So what does he need? That person needs to learn the language, but he can learn the language of the things that he already studied. If you link him to an organization or to
If there is
a partner that can
collaboration,
help that. That's like mapping what they know already by the time they get in.
Also career
generates
driven rather
different
than
kinds of
just
activities.
doing a
And
food
those
bank,
activities
they would go into whatever
Yeah.
will be needed or
neuroscience there.
Because what I see now
But I think
in Finland,
one
for
of the
example,
most
you have
important
thousands
things
of migrants about
to
in the winter
collaborate
time
between
being
religious
in,
leaders
and
and religious associations.
they are not
that
even allowed
you
to
have
cook the foods for
common
themselves
mission
because they say that you're going to
local
burn the
common
place up,
mission
so we're going to bring someone else to come and do the job. So
that
it's
you
outsourced.
can
Even
identify
those mothers,
certain
Syrian
needs
mothers, Iraqi mothers
that
that
are
wanted to cook
the
for their
local
children in the
communities,
centers for
and that the
refugees, they can't
religious
do that.
leaders
They
and
are not
local
allowed to do that.
organization
What happens
is an answer
when the
to that
winter
need.
comes?
And that needs
There
to
is
be different kinds.
outside cars
But we
coming
have
and
that
pricking
common,
the ice
often, of
or
course,
the snow
social,
off their road.
social needs.
What about if you would wake
that
people up in the morning? It would be,
organization can
them
identify
doing their
and
job. They're giving
bring
back
an
to
answer
the
to.
society. They're doing physical
Uh,
activities for themselves.
So
Somebody has
I
to
would
do
say
that, and it has to be
identify
based
the
on
local
from the
needs
beginning
and
volunteerism because you still can't pay their
organize
salaries and
the
stuff like
Basic
that.
skills.
Yeah.
religious
Well, I
organization
guess-
how to
and this
answer
is,
to that need.
And the same question I said. Some of these
It can be
recommendations
to
are
gather food
communal,
and
voluntary
distribute
sector
it to others. It can be to
recommendations, some
gather
are policy.
clothing and
all.
furniture.
We're
and
gonna
all
take
that.
the policy
Yeah.
ones.
That would
It
be
was
the
interesting.
other
There was
one.
a
So
fascinating
yours
project
has a
in
two
one
prong.
parish,
One is
done
for
by the Church
CSO
of
and one
England.
is for policy. So
and I met the
just to be
parish priest who did it. The
that-
community was in a very
one of
wealthy
those policy
area
recommendations
south of
is
London,
also
Surrey.
take the CSO.
There's famous actors and people, lawyers and stuff in the community. And they had an old building which was part of the parish property, and they offered that to a refugee family. And it was a family of 10, extended family of 3 generations. It just, the whole community came around it in terms of providing their needs, and they'd drop in, see the family, and find out if they needed anything. And it also created an awareness of the first time any of them met a Muslim family. It was a Syrian family, and it actually was also a sense in which they were really recognising, how they needed to give more as well, including of their own property. I found it an extraordinarily powerful project. And I don't know, how it then, enabled that family, obviously, to feel much more confident about living in Britain. Because unfortunately, many refugees just disappear within the diaspora. The Afghans will go and live with Afghans, and Somalis with Somalis, but not all refugees are in that situation, particularly in places like Sweden, where they may not find that diaspora. There is a big Somali diaspora actually in Sweden. But it must have created that dialogue.
And there are many countries, there are many.
It must have been rather sensitive dialogue because of language problems. Yeah, I agree. I think it's often very insensitive of government policy to sort of, we call it rusticate them. And they had this policy in the UK of sending sending refugees to outlying areas to share them around the country. So each local authority would take like 10. And so one time I was driving in a remote town, very small town, almost a village in Herefordshire, and there was a whole group of Kurdish, I could tell they were Kurds, young men. And I was thinking, this is, in some ways, there's no recognition of their social, cultural needs when they do this. These people will be cut off from other Muslims. They won't have a mosque to go to. And similarly, with the policy of fostering refugee children. So they send Muslim children to non-Muslim families, which is fine. But I was involved in a training project with our local social services department to train the foster parents on understanding Islam. My wife and I did it, and we did several courses. And the foster parents were like, oh gosh, suddenly now I understand why they're like this, or why there's this, why they make the bathroom, they wash so much in the bathroom, they're doing the ablution and prayer and things like that. And dietary needs. Very often the refugees, not only is their language not good, but they can't explain why they're doing things. Partly from language, and partly because also they just wouldn't know how to start explaining it to a non-Muslim. And partly also because their knowledge is often, they just don't have that capability of translating their religion into, making it understandable to another people. And I find this a lot within immigrant communities. Actually, they understand it, but they don't. Often it's like for them it's part of culture. It's not something they've necessarily understood as jurisprudence or things like this. Yeah. So I find it fairly insensitive.
Not necessarily the recommendations themselves,
Foster
but the
parents.
recommendation,
And there
but
are
the
a lot of
existing
them.
recommendations
A
to
lot of
have action plans.
They
that
are
can be
not
used.
made aware of
Yeah.
religious cultural needs.
Doable action plan. They can't just be like,
Seems to be a
let's do
denial
that,
of their
let's do that,
right.
but it has to be like,
Although I also recognise it's a very sensitive issue, because if you're looking after young Muslims, who do you introduce them to? Within the Muslim community, there are so many different groups. There are some that I wouldn't recommend introducing to necessarily, and some that I would definitely. But and those groups that you do introduce them to, will they be empathise with them? Will they be able to speak their language? All of that. If you're a non-Muslim foster parent who doesn't know the Muslim community, how would you yourself be comfortable with that? It would be a huge challenge for you to go down, drive into inner city Birmingham and start a conversation. I mean the social barriers involved are massive. So fostering is a type of volunteering, although they actually get paid for it. Yes, it's supposed to come across.
actually, the idea was not for only people, because even when we
One more minute.
if they are passive, it doesn't have to be in a center for refugees. But if you are, it's very important that when you ask, I worked as a translator for many different languages when I was like 10, 15 years ago. Every refugee that comes to them, you ask them, what are your goals? Number one, I want to learn the language, I want to understand this country, I want to provide for myself and for my family. That is the number 3. But in the Nordic countries, 6 months later, you ask the same question, the same person, they're
Yes.
so passivated.
Yes.
They're waiting for the checks
Settling
from
them
the
within communities where they
they
feel
become so
comfortable
passive because
volunteering
they are put in a box where they can't see
or
any
sort of
future.
being able to communicate. sometimes I wonder whether the policy of the British government was to assimilate these people, you know, by sending these young kids out to.
So we have one organization, one family most of the time
Yeah.
in all the country, and they commit to some dimensions to try to help them with the house, with the
Necessities.
so in these dimensions we can
Yeah, it doesn't appreciate the mental
volunteerism. So
pressures
could be
on those young
could
kids
become
of
part
trying
of
to
the
assimilate.
responsibilities of these NGOs
Because actually,
to make sure that if they don't have to,
the
I
identity
think that it's
changes.
mandatory for people to
When
do
a
it,
kid
but
from
it could become
Afghanistan or Iran or
an
something
official
comes to the UK,
dimension
is
that
put in an
is
English
presented
unit.
to migrants. This is
He has very little
in
knowledge of
Portugal it's not
and
not
he's
even for locals. So
trying to make all these
in
decisions
the
about who am I?
program,
You know,
one
it's
of
an
the
existential kind of
dimensions included to
situation he's put in.
promote
You know, who am I?
volunteerism.
You know, how do I respond?
You should be finishing up your conversations.
English unit, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I agree with you. It has to be official. Because what happened is when the migrants, mass migrants came, everybody wanted to help. Then all of a sudden we start to see this news of rape and killing of different people here and there. It affects the people in a way that they step back a lot of them. But if you would have that written down in the organization, if it's a measurable, it is structured, it is action, and it is strategy, then even when something negative happens, it doesn't just go away. It doesn't become like, hey, we didn't have to do this anyway. But then if it's part of your organization, if it's in the structures of your to do this, then it's much easier to also work
Know
there.
that you have it's a
Yeah.
responsibility that you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be a mandatory, but it could be a responsibility. It's an optional responsibility that the organization can decide.
Yes, it's right. And as I feel that sometimes, for example, people, when I hear organizations talking that they have the responsibility to put migrants and refugees in contact with the community, but they don't
Yeah, I mean,
how.
the thing about
They
that
say
is
that
it's
like
really hard
abstract
for people to do.
Yeah.
way of saying
So,
it,
Yeah.
but
limiting
we can
the numbers of people saying
transform that
Muslim children should go to
abstract sentence like
otherwise it's like
Action.
action through volunteerism.
Yeah.
So that point
I
of the
can give you,
program.
yeah, I can give you one very concrete example. In Finland, we have a lot of elderly people living alone that have no person to talk to. And then in the camps, we have the migrant young women and men that are alone also. So we kind of, there was an organization that was linking those elderly people, and the other person would go for a walk with them, help them do the shopping, and then they would speak to
this
she gets somebody
organizing
to talk to, but also teach the Finnish language at the same time. So the person is learning while doing and helping.
Organizing.
Organizing the activities.
Okay, everybody, let's come back. We will have more time to discuss. This next session is all about wider discussion. So
We didn't have time for 3 and 4. We just did 1 and 2 and 3. Did you send it already?
So actually, there could be a
Can-
whole range of.
or can we come back?
I didn't.
Or can we come back to the group?
Yes.
Yeah, I realize that furious activity at the final moment actually it starts quiet, and then as time goes on, it gets rumbling and boiling. So I don't want to stop that speed, but I'd love to move this. Let's regroup. I'd love to give the chance of each group to go through all the points that they could cover. So maybe we'll start with this one, since you started with 1 and 2, and then we'll go to this group. And are you okay to note take?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Do you want me to?
Yeah, I have
On a separate sheet.
on a separate sheet. Yeah, so we'll move that just to the side. Move this out. Okay. So who's the presenter in this group?
And 5. Ah, so we go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah, well,
If you'd like
no, actually, we don't have 3 and 4, so we're just going to answer 1 and 2 anyway. On the list, we thought that, of course, we could take all, but inclusivity and representation would be the one now we are kind of choosing. And on the issue of recommendation missing that you will want to add, I think that on that issue we are thinking that we would like to have an action plan for all the recommendations. They have to be things that are able to be done. They have to have, if I would go a little bit deeper, we would say that we would like them to have not only action plan, but also a strategy. It has to have an outcome. It has to lead somewhere, these recommendations that we have. It cannot just be an ongoing process that when people come and when they're done with it, then another group can come and continue and nothing happens. It has to have an outcome. And then on the...
Are there any clarifying questions or from this group or anybody else? Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any clarifying questions you want to ask?
No.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't want to take a lot of time. We can discuss more if you want. But on the policies and recommendations, we are thinking that, for example, organizations, government organizations, non-government organizations that are doing that are doing integration for migrants in their new homes, they could have volunteerism as part of their action plans, that it helps new migrants instead of just waiting for the documents to stay in that particular country, that instead of making them passive, we could activate them from day one. And one way of doing this is to get them to volunteer and find out what is it that they already know, what kind of know-how they have, and then link them to organizations or non-government organizations or whatever companies that are out there that can maybe try to open their mind and maybe use their new perspective, because they are bringing different perspective from different world, to give them the possibilities to be part of that. So
that's really interesting, because in Birmingham, which is largely a migrant city, we discovered, I used to run a sort of employment project in the city years ago. We discovered that so many of the migrants who came had actually quite high levels of qualification that they couldn't use in the UK. And they ended up either employed or working in factories, frustrated, sense of, we're qualified people that are able to work.
yeah.
And so they brought in an accredited prior learning scheme where they were able to go and get their learning accredited and carry on.
Well, I have a very concrete example that I can give to you guys. Maybe I haven't shared it also with my group here. A Chinese man and his woman, his wife, came from China all the way to Finland. Nokia, the company, the Finnish company, gave the Chinese man work. His wife was equally qualified like him. So when they came to Finland, he started to work. The wife wanted to work, so she went to the unemployment office to ask that, hey, is there a workplace? They couldn't, so what they told her is that you go and do some taking care of elderly and children. That's the only job we have for you. So because they couldn't have children back in China, because of the child policy, she made a child. She was out of the work labor for 2 years. Then she tried again, and then they said the same thing again, and then she made a second child, and then it took her another. So she was out of the labor market for over 7 years. And after that, she came and she did this, she wrote a blog about it, like what Finland did to her, that as a woman, what she was ready to do, how her husband gave the chance, but she didn't get the chance. And we woke up, a lot of the officials in Finland woke up to that, like you can't ask people that are already highly qualified to go and do something that they don't want to do and kind of push them to something that they are not wanting to do. So what could have happened was the question that was asked. And the number one thing was like, if she would be given internships, if not volunteers, even internships, the kind of portray what she can do so she could get the possibilities. So a lot of migrants, according to different statistics, are showing that they are willing to learn, they are willing to work, they are willing to be part of the societies, but their education is not recognized in the host countries. And the only solution for that is for them to get volunteer or internships in different places that they can portray and show what they can do.
That's great. So there's one, it's a pathway for them as soon as they're entering the country as refugee or migrant to both get their skills recognized, but also a voluntary internship opportunity that sets them up for their actual career.
Yeah, but those plans cannot be on the basis of just how do we feel. There has to be basis on the government level thinking that this has to happen. Because we remember in 15, when people started to come in, a lot of government leaders around Europe were saying, welcome, you're welcome, we're here to help you. But 6 months later, 1 year later, when we saw the stabbings or the killings of here and there, and then all of a sudden the attitude towards migrants change. So if this is based on feelings and emotions, then it's not going to go further. But it has to be kind of written, not mandatory, but written somewhere that, and then they have to have plans for it, they have to have strategy, and you have to have also an outcome out of it. I don't know, maybe my colleagues would like to.
Thank you very much. Really good contribution.
Sorry, I just freelanced.
Okay, so to this group, who's your presenter? Was there anything else? Or? This group? You haven't chosen a presenter. That's okay. Will someone?
I don't know if anybody can read my writing too. So there was the first point. Was this question about leadership? Number 3, what role do you envisage for religious leaders? I mean, there was a first point by Robert that was interesting. Actually, I'm not sure it linked to leadership necessarily, about how actually a lot of the volunteering that's required is quite mundane. Things like childcare, transport to work, providing bicycles or whatever it is. But then it was raised about raising the awareness of refugee needs that individuals can respond to within the community. So that's more like volunteering from the community for refugee needs. Legal advice, mental health issues that religious leaders can raise with and get volunteers to support refugees. Refugees are often facing enormous mental pressures on them and trauma. Reminding of the rewards of volunteering, supported by religious teaching, so the spiritual material rewards of it can be raised by religious leaders. Changing attitudes, inclusion of faith leaders within policy consultation and implementation. Faith leaders are often the ones to be left out of consultation because local authorities, particularly secular authorities, are uncomfortable. They're going into, it's not their comfort zone talking to religious leaders. They have all sorts of perceptions around that. And then the question 4 was on, what was it? Intercultural dialogue, yeah. So identifying local needs. There was a big discussion around policy around putting migrants into, in the UK, they have this policy of farming them out equally to local authorities. So you'll have a Kurdish kid or teenager suddenly ending up in a white village, and that places that could be quite nice for him, might like it, they'd be very supportive of him, but also places enormous kind of cultural, religious pressures on him. He may not have a mosque, he may not have access to his own diaspora or community. So, I'm not sure how much this has to do with volunteering, but we then got on to talking about fostering and introducing people to their own diaspora, and the recognition that refugees have a right to their own identity and culture, and that's often not recognized by or sufficiently recognized by local authorities in Europe. You know, they just assume, they'll be fine, they'll be looked after. Well, that's a good Christian community, and they will look after them well. But actually, that particularly within young people whose identity is not particularly strong or knowledgeable, that might place all sorts of mental, social pressures on them. We talked about fostering and sensitive issues of identity. Yeah.
Are there any questions? I have my question. So I see, of course, this is around the intercultural dialogue and pastoral care, but there's also a big policy piece around. So local council, local government identifies local needs and says we need people who can volunteer into.
Yeah. I think mentoring might be the right word. So they could get refugees to mentor other refugees who've gone through that journey, and that would be enormously supportive. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll put it down now.
It's quite interesting what you listed is very impressive. It's also, it feels like the refugees, the main rise, basic rise become demands and asks, you know? That's the fact. Which is so cool, all this. I mean, it happens some places now. But very basic rights are getting asks, you know, like hopes,
Yeah.
becoming hopes. Basic rights becoming hopes. And that's the truth. And what you have listed out of your experience, but actually I'm living it, you know, that's why it can be more touchable for me. Yeah. Because for you, it's you know, you understand, and you recommend. But for me, I feel, you know, like mentally, how it's hard to get. And we all refugees. It's here, it's just one recommendation that you say, but actually it casts lives.
Yeah.
It's make problems, make social problems. You know, it's a term, but it's a word, like a whole world of getting crazy and not disabled, not able to do anything, you know?
So, Fred, obviously we're running out of time. We have 2 minutes till break, so 11:30. Our next task will be to identify 3 recommendations, and from there, we'd have ready for presentation this afternoon. Now, we do need a presenter for this afternoon. Are there any volunteers to present in plenary?
If they help me, I would present. If they help me structure something, because if I present myself, I will have a different perspective, you know?
Yeah, no. We definitely want everybody to.
Yes, yeah.
You're presenting the group.
Exactly, yeah.
So we're happy. Definitely, we're going to help you.
Okay,
So
perfect.
thank you for putting yourself forward. If there's any other, I don't know if there's a voting system, but great. Thank you very much for. So it's break time now. Yeah, till 11:30. And then we really need to try to concretize what we can in terms of recommendations. So thank you very much. And sorry it's so tight. How long is the break? 30 minutes. It'll be a 5-minute.
It will be here?
No, it'll be in plenary.
Okay.
So we are presenting our key findings, or?
So through the presenter,
Finish all the questions.
some, we'll discuss. That'll be 5 minutes in total.
Okay, so, yeah.
That's the closing plenary. Exactly.
Maybe 5 minutes, we can hear, I will say something and then you just comment on this and this and this.
I'm also happy if there's 2 presenters. If I want 2 presenters, if there are anybody else.
No, it's fine. You will be. Which you do it from?
I want to be actually, yeah, let's go.
Yes.
My friend is
We're going to be back here anyway.
Yes.
30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm from Ireland, an Irish citizen, but my father's from New Zealand, and I grew up all over the world. I haven't actually lived that much of my life in Ireland.
The same as yesterday, or if you want to send me? Yeah, it's just a document. So we have a talk for You're not complaining. Something like that. Yeah, 30 minutes. Right. There's nobody else. That's the thing. The question